Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Ryan Dins for another episode, and on this episode I am not going to talk about the next hot stock. I'm not going to talk about what dividend stocks I own. This episode I'm only going to talk about what I like to call the tax yourself method. A lot of other people call it the pay yourself first, but this is my channel and I do what I want, so we're going to do it my way. Woo! So the tax yourself method, you might say to yourself, well, what is that? Very simply put, the government forces you to pay taxes, and you pay them because if you don't pay them, they come in your house with a gun and then take you to jail. So it's the only reason you pay them. Now with the pay yourself method, which I like to call it, what you're doing is you're establishing a tax rate that you're comfortable with and you could pay. Just assume that the government randomly decided that they were going to make another 30% tax on your wealth. You would hate it, you would disagree with it, but eventually you have to pay it because if you don't, they're going to run into your house, like I said, with armed men and haul you off to jail. That's the only reason people pay taxes, because if you don't, you go to jail. Otherwise, nobody would pay them. So with the tax yourself method is you have to imagine that the government added another tax. Say it's 30% in this case. It could be whatever you want it to. For me, it's about 50%. So just using a 30% example. So with the 30% example, say you made $50,000 a year. Assume that they added a 30% tax. 30% of 50,000 is 15 grand. Now take 15 grand off of your income. That's how much you make. You now make 35 grand. It's that simple. And I say 30% of the before tax rate, because if you make 50 grand, you're really only making 40 grand. But I would say to take 15% off what your total gross is. So that means you have a little bit more than $1,000 a month to invest. If you put that money into dividend stocks, in 20 years you're going to be rich, in 30 years you'll be a millionaire. Now when I say I do 50%, I don't want to talk about how much I make, but it's more than a grand a month. I'm throwing way more than $1,000 a month in right now because I want to be a millionaire in 10 years. So I'm taking half my wealth and I am massively throwing it at this. So it's up to you how much you want to do, but basically the strategy is this simple. You decide how much you want to make this imaginary tax and you have to pay it. And that is the money you put aside for investments. Now when I say I take 50%, I don't put it all in dividend stocks. I put some into crypto. I put some into my Wealthfront account. I have different streams of income because I want to be diversified. You know, say you don't make good money at all. Say, you make 25 grand a year, which is not that good. That's how much you make. Step your game up, get a second side hustle. But say you made that. That would be $7,500 a year that you invest. Now, if you put that away, eventually you're gonna have it's gonna snowball. That's how you build wealth. What most people do, unfortunately, is most people don't follow this. Most people, if they make 50 grand a year, they spend 50 grand a year. And then if they get a raise and all of a sudden they're making 70 grand a year, do you think they're putting the 20,000 extra away? Oh, well now I make 20 grand more. I could afford to live on 50 grand, now I make 70 grand. No, they're going to get a better car. I'm going to get a Land Rover now. I make 70 grand. If things go well for me and I double my income, I'm not going to up the quality of my life. I'm going to put 90% of that extra money that I made away, and I'm just going to be able to invest more. The 10% extra, yeah, okay, maybe I'll go on a few more vacations if I double my income, let's be honest. But I'm still gonna put the vast majority of it away. The thing that you gotta understand is, in America, you need a certain amount to survive. You're gonna need like 40 grand to survive and live comfortably. Unfortunately, the strategy's tough for people that don't make good money. Like if you make 30 grand a year, it's like a little bit hard to put away 30% of your wealth. But if you make 100 grand, it should be pretty easy to put away 30% of your wealth because you only need 40 grand to survive, so that's an extra 30 grand that you have to invest. That's the way I look at it. Say you're making 100 grand and you're putting 30 grand away a year. Then all of a sudden, things go good, you start a side business, you get a bunch of raises, whatever, your business starts doing good, and now you're making 200 grand. Now what I would do in that situation is you're already living off $70,000, and you're probably living pretty comfortably off $70,000. So now you make 200 grand. Now put 130 grand away a year. You do that, you'll be a millionaire in 5 years. You let the interest compound, you let the dividends compound. You will be a millionaire in 5 years because this is the way I look at it. However much you put in, you can expect that to be double in 10 years. And that's very, very, very conservative. If you're only doubling your money every 10 years, you're probably not very good at investing. The reason I say double in 10 years is because I think that like an absolute idiot can double their money in 10 years by just going on like YouTube and finding out what Warren Buffett buys and just buy that. That's really all you have to do. You can go on other YouTube channels to find these speculative guys that, you know, oh, it'll make you $1,000 in a week, and then you could lose all your money that way. Or you could do what I do, and you're pretty much going to be a millionaire. It's the 10 to 30 years. The reason I say 10 to 30 and it's so different is if you're putting away $5,000 a month, you know, you could be a millionaire in 5-10 years. But if you're putting away like $1,000 a month, it might take you 20-30 years. Which is why, if I can make any suggestion, what you want to do is you want to try to make as much money as humanly possible and spend as little as humanly possible. That is what I'm doing at the moment. It's a weird thing to brag about, but where I film this from right now, it is a small studio apartment in a ghetto in Los Angeles. I grew up in Jersey, so I'm used to living in the hood and everything. So I don't really mind that like I get threatened when walking to my car sometimes because I'm saving so much money. I don't really care. And you know, I'm gangster. I'll beat one of these bums up if I have to. I really hope it doesn't come to that. But things that I do to try to save money is kind of like extreme a little bit. I've become a little bit too frugal in my day, but that's fine because in 10 years, I'll just buy Lamborghinis for fun. Like that's the level I'm at. I don't care about having nice things for the next 5 years. I really don't. The only things I spend money on are nice dinners and traveling because life should be about experiences, not things. That's just my philosophy. It's just the way I look at it is you need to take as much money as possible and put it to the side. And the best way to do that is pretend that there's a tax. Pretend that the government implemented a tax that there's absolutely no way you can get out of it. Because real taxes, there's no way you can get out of it. You could try to get out of it, but then you might end up in jail. If you tax yourself and then an emergency comes up and you don't tax yourself 1 week, nobody's gonna put you in jail at least. But you have to be disciplined. There's no month that I don't take at least 50% of my money and put it in savings. There's not one month that I've done that. Every single month, half of my income is going directly into stocks, crypto, and index funds. Every single month. You don't want to leave it rotting away at a bank account because you have to think about it this way. Inflation is about 3% a year. So if you're leaving it in a bank account, you're probably getting less than 1%. So your money, you're actually getting poorer. If you had $1 million in a bank account and you left it there for 10 years, your $1 million would have the buying power of maybe like 600 grand after 10 years. It's unfortunate that the government is constantly printing money, so inflation might get a little bit worse, but you don't have to worry about the government. One thing I learned is don't worry about the government. They are corrupt, they are terrible, but why think about that? If you don't like it, just move to a different country. You know, you could go to a different country where they're more fair, where there's less taxes. There's different ways where you could get away with not paying taxes and get away with keeping more income and not feeling like the government is pressing you. You can do that. You are not a tree. You can leave. Get it? Make like a tree and leave. Okay, that's corny. But what I'm talking about is very important. So I'm just going to sum this up. And before I leave my final thought, I want you to hit the like button and the subscribe button, please. And hit the bell so you get every video. This is knowledge that I'm going to be dropping to you weekly. I'm going to try to make 2 videos a week. It's a little bit challenging because I got a lot of things going on, but I'm going to do that for you folks. We're going to up it. So that's all I got to say. Thank you for joining. And remember, put at least 30% of your money away every month.